Hey, welcome in, fans, to another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast, perhaps the last episode of the season because the Utah Mammoth season has come to its end. A tough series loss, losing 4-2 to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. But hey, we got some playoff experience, and that was fun. Ryan, Dustin, are you ready to talk about it? Are you ready to recap these playoffs?
I've been ready. I was born ready, been ready, always ready. Stay ready. Don't got to get ready. We ready.
Yep, I'm absolutely ready for this. It was a tough night when we lost, but hey, it was worth it.
Worth it just to be there. What's the old phrase, Dustin? Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Something to that effect.
Smile because it happened. Yes, sir.
That's gay.
And that's where we're feeling, though. That's the copium, Ryan, and we need that copium. We were riding
Drugs
high
are
on the
bad,
hog
kids.
last episode.
Drugs are bad.
The illegal ones are bad. Who knows
Those ones are
what will be
especially
legal in
good,
the future?
Actually,
The point of the story is we were riding so high this last episode because we were on a 2-1 lead in this series. Everything looked like it was going our way. The young kids were producing. The first line was stepping up. Everything looked good. And then the wheels kind of came off. 2 back-to-back overtime games, including that heartbreaker in double OT with a shorthanded goal to win the game. And then game 6, the Mammoth just did not show up. They had nothing left in the tank, no energy, and they just get crushed, losing the game 5-1. Guys, after coming out of game 3, everything looked good. What went wrong for the Mammoth in games 4, 5, and 6?
You know where it hinged? Where everything started going wrong? When Andre Tourigny benched JJ Peterka. That's where everything started going wrong. Everything went wrong. He made one terribly bad decision, and everything just snowballed from there. I'm going to wait as long as I can for my fire Andre Tourigny rant, because I know there are people that listen to the podcast that say that we're the Andre Tourigny hating podcast, and no matter what he does, we hate him. There's nothing he can do that's good enough. So I'll postpone it as much as I can, but that's where it started to go wrong. Maybe that correlation doesn't represent causation. I know that's a thing, but that's where it started to go wrong. I think ultimately, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but more than likely, it just boils down to Las Vegas being an experienced team that knows how to win in the playoffs, and Utah does not. So that's probably what it is, but I'll rant later.
So I think where it all went wrong was we did the one thing we do every time we have a lead going into the third period, and we just want to play defense, and we just want to, chip the puck in deep and just take our foot off the gas instead of continuing to go. And Vegas plays every single play till after the whistle. Well after the whistle on some plays. And we just kind of got outmatched, and we were done. We had nothing left. We stood up to them in games 1, 2, and 3, and then the series kind of died down a little, and we had nothing left to give. But the relaxed mentality this team has when we have a lead in the third period is infuriating.
That is something that I wanted to mention. I'm glad that you did, because it spaced my mind. But just the fact that we became the first team in NHL history to have a third period lead in each of the first 5 games and not be leading or had won the series after 5 games, that shows you just sort of how lackadaisical and just how this team takes their foot off of the gas. Because the way Utah plays, they try to make a lot of stretch passes. They make some gambles in the neutral zone, and maybe that's Tourigny just saying, you know what, we don't want to do that. We don't want to have a bad turnover that leads to a game-tying goal. So let's kind of sit back and just try to control things. But I've said this before, but the easiest way to defend a 1-goal lead is to turn it into a 2-goal lead. And Utah just nope, we're just going to hope they don't score and hope to escape this one. And that's really infuriating. Just keep playing your game. Your game is what got you to that point. Keep playing your game.
It's funny too with us dropping the leads. Like, you look at game 4, and that was the epic comeback game, right? Like, Vegas jumps out to a 3-0 lead. We're ready to just phone it in, thinking, okay, this is it. The Mammoth have given up. This is where we're at. On to the next game. And then they come roaring back, 4 unanswered goals, take the lead, and then give up the lead late in the third period. And then in game 5, they give up that late equalizer with a minute left to play in the third period. And that's the heartbreak, but that's been the inconsistency all season. of just like the frustrations building of not being able to build on big lead unless you're running away with it. The Mammoth just like to keep things a little too close for comfort, and then failure to close out games. It has been a theme all season. And I was shocked to see that statistic that we were the first team to lose the lead in all 5 games. It didn't even register that was a thing that was happening until we saw the stat. And then it just was like kind of made sense with the way this team plays. You talk about the benching of JJ, because I think game 4 was such a pivotal moment, because it could have been one of those monumental, like if Vegas loses that game, I just don't know how they come back and win the series. Not just being down 3-1, but losing that game like that with a 3-0 lead, and then you will let 4 unanswered in. It, again, Dustin, like you said, JJ Peterka gets benched right around the time that Vegas ties the game up, and then doesn't see a minute of play in that overtime. And then the next game they go to double overtime, his minutes are slashed, like just does not play that many minutes. Like you're really riding on your top 6 and then the depth that just did not exist in terms of production in this series. Like you even saw, like, I hate to say this, but like Logan Cooley had an incredible game 1, 2, and 3, then was nowhere to be found in games 4, 5, and 6. Has 3 points in his first 3 games, 0 points in the last 3 games. Like maybe Nick Dowd didn't make good on his promise to kill Logan Cooley, but the Las Vegas Golden Knights realized that Logan Cooley was one of the most dangerous people on the ice, did not let him get going at all in those last 4 games, or those last 3 games, and then Vegas closes it out. Like I really felt like Vegas was able to, as the series went on, make adjustments and make us pay for being rather one-dimensional, right? They completely shut down our power play because all we've got is the one-timer from Gunther, which you can't stop sometimes. Like it's going to go in, but they know that's really our bread and butter.
And that's sort of like, I made the joke on Twitter that like that was just Torts like Jedi mind tricking Andre Tourigny into only looking for that, saying like after we finally get a power play goal from Dylan Gunther on that one timer from Alex Ovechkin's office, right? He gets asked in like the post game, how do you stop that? And he's like, yep, you're never gonna stop that. Nobody can stop that. That's one of the best shots in the league. Blah blah blah. And then from that point on, Andre was like, they admit they can't stop it. We just that's what we gotta look for. Every power play, we're looking for the Gunther one time. We're not even looking at Schmaltz in the middle. We're not like looking to go back to where like, even the TV broadcast is talking about like Vegas is shifting their defense to try and take away that Gunther one timer. Look for Utah to try something on the backside, on the back end, to kind of sneak one past Carter Hart because the attention's pulled so far the other way. And despite even the TV broadcast telling them, hey, they're trying to take this away, look elsewhere, it took until game 6 before they turned their power play into, like, at least with their first power play, turned it into throw absolutely everything that we can at the net, because they did that on their first power play. They threw like they had one attack where they threw like 6 pucks at the net before it got cleared out. And I think they only wound up with 1 shot on goal because they got blocked and a couple went wide, but they were still just throwing pucks at the net. Why did it take until game 6 before somebody's like, hey, we should try to look for something other than a Dylan Gunther one-timer? And it was just Torts mind tricking Andre Tourigny to doing exactly what he wanted him to do.
Wait, was it a Jedi mind trick? Are we just a one-trick pony and it's not that goddamn hard to figure out? And it had nothing to do with Torts' post-game comments. He was just making a point of fact. I don't think it was a Jedi mind trick. I think Torch just figured out after game 1, they don't do anything else. That's literally all they do. Oh, we can figure that out. Give us a couple games, we'll have it shut down. I don't want to give Torch any credit for being a Jedi mind tricker. I just want to give Torch credit of being, he's got 2 eyes and he watched the game.
And I'm not going to go back and like do the in-depth research, but I know our power play
We don't do that here.
healed itself when Hayden went out and they moved Cooley up to the power play 1. Cooley finished with 6 power play goals. I feel like at least most of those came after the Hayden injury. Like he scored like 2 or 3 power play goals that I remember It feels like since he went back up to power play 1, it wasn't earlier. I'm not going to go through his game log to find out exactly and just do horrible podcasting quality. But I guess, and then Schmaltz has a handful of power play goals, it feels like. And it's just throughout the season, especially the end where the power play was kind of clicking, it felt like it was not just a Gunther one-timer. Like, it just felt like, hey, we got one early. I believe it was a game 2 or 3. No, it was 2, I believe, where we got Gunther's power play goal. I don't remember. I've erased the whole damn series from my memory. But like, it worked. So Andre's like, okay, that worked. Let's keep going to that. And I know that if you're listening to this and you want to hit me up on Twitter and say, but Andre Tourigny's not our power play coach, I don't care.
Said it once, I've said it before. If you're the head coach and you don't have a say in your power play, you're not a head coach. I'm sorry, you're just not.
That's
Yeah. I
that's
had
just
somebody-
a bad take.
Yeah, I had somebody, because I mentioned that about, like, wow, imagine that, like, moving Hayton out of PP1 and moving Cooley up, fix the power play. Who could have seen it coming? And I had like 2 or 3 people on Twitter say to me, oh, the power play is not up to Andre Tourigny. He's not the power play coach. Like, if you're stupid enough, sorry to insult the listeners if you do listen to but if you're stupid enough to think that the head coach isn't deciding who's on his power play units, you need to study the game of hockey a little bit more and just
I was
realize
going to say,
the head guy is in charge of everything.
let's be honest. The power play coach is there to, at practice, run the power play while Tourney's off doing other shit that he's got to do. Tourney's to being like, hey, man, here's the 5 guys you're working with. Go work with them. Yeah, you know what I mean? Your power play coach he's the power play coach for a reason. He's not the coach. That's like saying the GM doesn't have a say in who's getting scratched. Because I firmly believe every GM talks to a manager or their coach before every game and decides, hey, we're going to healthy scratch this guy. You know what I mean? They might not have the ultimate say, but they get a say in it.
We're going to come back to that thought too, Ryan, when we talk about what comes next, because that's something that will definitely be the talk of the year.
We fire Andre Tourigny and hire Bruce Cassidy. That's what comes
That
next.
seems like the obvious answer, but like,
let's be honest, if Bruce Cassidy went into that locker room, they're all going to cry immediately. There's no way they can handle getting yelled at by 57-year-old Bruce Cassidy.
I have a question for you guys. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe I'm going to go down this line of thinking I'm going down. Was it a mistake to scratch O'Brien for the rest of the season after Game 4?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
100%.
biggest mistake, it's not necessarily that you scratched O'Brien. Was a game 5, I think, where we're being told, like, Hayden can't go, right? He's not healthy enough. He's close, but he's not ready to go. And then, according to Tourigny, Hayden comes to him and says, hey, I feel good. I want to play. Like, a guy that you thought just a few hours ago was not healthy enough to go. And then he comes to you and says, hey, coach, I want to go. And you just let him decide to put himself in the lineup. And he gives you absolutely nothing in that game, right? He did nothing. He impacted the game in 0 ways. The only time I heard his name even mentioned on the broadcast was when he was either losing an edge and falling to the ice, or mishandling a puck, or doing something that you don't want done. And you took a guy who you thought was not healthy enough and rusty as hell in a critical game, just put himself in the lineup. Like, whether you want to decide that that's taking O'Brien off the ice or letting Hayden put himself on the ice, it was a mistake.
Here's my view on this. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we on this podcast have been a pro Liam O'Brien podcast this year. Because let's be honest, we haven't. But that's because Tuna's kind of game you don't need in the regular season. I'm sorry, at game 23 of the regular season, I don't need Tuna out there running around pissing. You know what I mean? I don't need that. Game 1, Tuna kind of showed why he's still around. That dude was hitting everybody. He was rent-free in Keegan Colasar's head. It was beautiful. He didn't even have to say anything. He would just look at Colasar, and Colasar was trying to smack him or punch you, do something. Like, he had an assist. At one point in the playoffs, Liam O'Brien had more points than Connor McDavid. And you're going to take that out of the lineup? You're going to bench that? Are you kidding me? The first 3 games of the year was the one time we all got to go, this is why Tuna and Tanev are both on the team. This is when you need those little guys just being a nightmare out there, just hitting everybody, doing anything. And like Tuna, I can't remember one play in the playoffs where he gave the puck away or made a bad defensive play. Tuna, every time he had the puck, it was off his stick and out of the zone. Liam O'Brien was playing phenomenal, like the best hockey he's played all year. I think that would be a fair assessment to say. And like Dustin was saying, you're going to bench him for Hayden? Who, like, what is Hayden going to give you that Tuna's not? Tuna goes to the front of the net.
He gave you nothing.
Tuna goes to the front of the net. Put him on a face-off. I bet O'Brien could do just as bad as Hayden did. Like, what? I don't know. I wouldn't have taken him out. I know that's going to sound crazy, but Tuna, I feel like after the first couple games, he earned a spot to keep playing. I don't think he was the one who should have got taken out.
And this is where the people that listen to the podcast who think that we're just staunchly anti-tyranny, who like he can never do anything right. This is why, because I sat in this spot 1 week ago recording this episode when we were up 2-1. And I said, and Ryan laughed at me and got pissed at me for saying it. I asked, is this the genius of Andre Tourigny? He scratched Tanev and he scratched O'Brien throughout the year to keep them fresh so that in the playoffs where their game shines, they were going to be fresh. And then what does he go and do after I give him props for doing this? But he puts Liam O'Brien on the bench. Like, I try to give the man props and I try to say, hey, look at what, like, something smart. These guys are fresh and this is where we need them. And then he's like, you know what? Take him out of the game. It's like this is why we always seem so anti-tyranny, because every time I try to give the man props, he does the exact opposite. Like, throughout the season, I would say, hey, look, we're sticking with the rotation. And then he switches up the lines. Like, it's just constant where it's like, I try to give the man props. He does the opposite a day later, and it's maddening. And that's why we seem so anti-tyranny.
Yeah, no, not for nothing. Barrett Hayton did not play in Game 6, so it makes it even more frustrating that if he was dealing with injuries still, or not 100%, you still put him in the lineup in that critical Game 5, but then say, nope, you're out for Game 6. Like, if he was good enough for Game 5, why wasn't he good enough in Game 6? So it's just it's those little things that happen. And I mean, Jack McBain was in the lineup too for just the 2 games. He did not have a great series, but he was another one who's been out for so long. It's like, why not just go? Like, I mean, how many times have we said, don't just change lines to change lines? And he does it in the middle of the series. Like, after you're up on the series, like everything's going your way. You don't need to change the lines. It was almost like in the season, we're looking at it and we're like, okay, in a vacuum, Kyler Yamamoto is better than Liam O'Brien and should always be playing over Liam O'Brien, right? Like, that's just like in a vacuum. If you compare those 2 players, that is just the correct choice objectively to play Kyler Yamamoto, and he plays Liam O'Brien. But he does this throughout the season, right? He makes this change and he puts in Liam O'Brien. It frustrates the hell out of us. And then Yamamoto finds great success on line 2. He's tied with the top of the team with 5 points throughout the series, 1 goal, 4 assists. And so we're like, okay, this is why we wanted Kyler Yamamoto the whole season, right? And then it's the one time that Liam O'Brien, now it's like, okay, I get it. In a vacuum, objectively, Jack McBain and Barrett Hayton are better players than Liam O'Brien. In a vacuum. But the playoffs are no longer the regular season where those vacuum decisions can be like, this is a matchup decision. And Jack McBain is obviously not healthy. He's not the Jack McBain that we need him to be. But Liam O'Brien is. It's okay if Liam O'Brien has 0 shots and 1 point. It's not okay if Jack McBain has only 2 shots through the 2 games he plays. I do believe it was 2 shots. No, 1 shot. He has 1 shot all series. Plays just a couple minutes more per game than Liam O'Brien does. And that's like, that's not enough. Like, if you're going to play Jack McBain, you got to play Jack McBain. And to like feel like I'm ranting and I'm losing sight of it. And again, like, this whole episode is not going to be devoted to fire Andre Tourigny. Only a small portion of the episode is going to be devoted to firing Tourigny. But it's those decisions that we say, like, okay, why do you want him gone? It's these decisions that seemingly don't have an answer as to why you did it. And further exacerbated is because it's inconsistent with how you've coached in the entire regular season. And now we kind of have to ask the big question. The question I think is probably the most uncomfortable question because I'm wrestling with my answer inside my head. Did Veggie let us down this series?
No,
I don't think so,
no.
because before game 6, he was like at I know if you just look purely at like save percentage, he wasn't at 90, but go after game 5, his like what is the metric that they look at, like the expected goals given up, like he'd given up fewer goals than expected. And then God, I'm going to mix up my games, but one of the games, maybe it was game 3, because we wound up winning game 3, where Vegas came out and just peppered him nonstop in the first period. And he just stopped absolutely everything that they threw at him. Like the only game where you looked and said like, okay, like he's letting in some stuff that you don't normally see. Like it was game 6 and nobody showed up in that. And like, it took until the game was already out of hand before you're like, oh, okay, he's mentally checked out.
I'm not going to look at the numbers. I think that's stupid and that's for nerds. I watched all 6 games, and I don't think Veggie's play let me down at all. If you watched enough Utah Mammoth games, you're well aware how Veggie plays goalie. He's kind of a psycho out there. He is going to end up 8 feet out of his crease for no reason. We're all going to be very confused on why he did it. He'll get a whistle to stop the play and, he'll get to relax. But Veggie he's kind of nuts. He's out there. He goes around. He does his thing. But I don't think Veggie played bad at all. I think the games we lost, the team in front of him just wasn't there to bail him out. And I don't want to say that Vegas outplayed, but they did. They outplayed us in every game other than the 2 we won, really. And is it playoff experience? Maybe. Or is it the type of team we have built? Because maybe speed can win you win you games in the regular season, but when you're just getting thrown around for 6 games, you're not so fast anymore, are you? You know what I mean? It's a little hard you're not as fast as you are when you're taping ice bags to every part of your body at the end of the game. And I don't think Veggie necessarily let us down. I would just say the team kind of just fell apart towards the end. We got a couple good wins, but yeah, no, Veggie, I wouldn't say he let us down.
That was a conversation throughout the season. You didn't see it as much. I mean, Tourigny gets most of the flack for the losses, but those who were already against Veggie, I think it was a kind of like a confirmation bias thing. Like when they saw the goals go in, it was like, this is why I'm upset at Veggie. Like this is exactly why. And Ryan, like you said, like he does. He gets out of position often, and unfortunately, it's just like I look at it like Schmaltz last year, where I don't think Schmaltz made more mistakes than other people, but Schmaltz's mistakes were so noticeable and had even not like, it's not like they always ended up in a goal, but it was like they were obvious, like when he fans on a shot or he clearly missed, like you're just like, there it is, another Schmaltz mistake, whereas other people make less obvious mistakes. And it's when Vejmelka gets out of position, it's like, it's obvious that he's out of position, right? It wasn't just a lucky shot or something like that. It's like he is obviously out. So they're like, this is bad. But like you said, that allows him to make some of those crazy saves that he probably has no business making because he's cutting down angles and putting himself in a position to make that initial save. Just unfortunately, Vegas capitalized on rebounds a lot throughout the series. They had a lot of those, like the reason I think the expected goals would go against Veggie so much is because Vegas had so many high danger chances that it's like, yeah, the expected goals are there. So it's tough, which is why I think it's a flawed metric anyway, but it is a very popular metric to use. And I think a lot of advanced analytics rely on it.
Yeah. It's just goaltending is such it's such a hard thing to do on it, like just to do on its own. Like the average person sitting at home, unless you've played the position, like, you don't really know what a goalie is supposed to do in certain situations. And for the most part, most of us don't understand the game of hockey well enough to critique it at like a huge level. Like I follow because my son has started to get into hockey and he likes to play goalie. There is a coach on TikTok who coaches goalies. And like he talks about like how to position yourself, and when the puck gets to this place, like you feel like you want to be up against the post, but you should actually kind of come out because it cuts down an angle. And like the average person, if they're at home and you see like the puck on the wing and the goalie isn't up against the post, and then they take a shot from there and it kind of goes by their arm, the average person is like, why are you there? Why aren't you protecting the post? Like, but they're coming out to cut down angles where it's such a hard thing to do on its own. It's one of the reasons why I don't critique defenses in college football and stuff like that, because everybody just tends to say, oh, well, the closest defender is the one who blew the coverage, right? And people blame this person or blame that person. I don't know goaltending well enough to like break it down and critique it at that type of level, but I don't think Veggie let us down.
You know what I want to see? I think it's coming. It's only a matter of time, but maybe I don't know if there's like union implications or something, because sometimes like with the advanced player trackers and stuff, like the union has its hand in it. Anyway, point of the story is I want to see like helmet cams. Like I feel like cameras are getting so good now, like so that eventually some of the angles, just like a player is mic'd up, some of the angles we're going to be seeing are from the player's point of view, both the goalies and the shooters. And so you can kind of see much better, like we get a bird's eye view of everything. And it's hard to kind of see those like shooting angles and shooting lanes when you see everything. But if you were to see the player's point of view or the goalie's point of view, I think that would be a lot easier for both new fans and old fans. I think that would be an awesome thing to see. So hopefully in a few years we can get stuff like that, especially with the advanced tracking that's going on.
Well, have you seen the umpire cams in baseball?
Mm-hmm.
This last World Series, they tried it out for the first time. It was incredible. Some of the like just being able to be like, the main thing I learned is there's not a goddamn chance I could be an MLB umpire. There's no way I could call a ball to strike when it's going that fast. You know what I mean? That's crazy. So it would be kind of interesting to have a new perspective on the on-ice level of like what is actually going on. And maybe people would stop yelling, shoot it on the power play when the team isn't
Brandon's
shooting
never
the puck.
stopping.
I know he won't, and I know Amber won't. But maybe if you guys see, oh, look, he literally has no lane, maybe stop yelling at him to shoot it. Maybe.
Listen, you're looking at this from the Montreal Canadiens standpoint where you're like, we only need 9 shots to close out a game. No, not Brandon Kerr-led teams. You need 50 shots a game. I don't care if they're good, bad, or different.
St. Louis and the 9-shot gang are going on to the second round, so...
And how about that series? You know, that's what I posted.
Incredible end.
Fire John Cooper, by the way.
Yep.
Fire John Cooper. What a
Tampa
bum.
Bay until they fire
4
him.
losses in a row in the first round when you have Nikita Kucherov, who is now held pointless in his game 7s. So yeah, fire them all.
Well, that's because he took that cross check and went to the ice. He's just too injured.
Don't Kucherov, I cry. He tried talking shit to Dobish, and Dobish was like, yeah, watch us win this game, bitch.
Full disclosure, everybody, Nikita Kucherov absolutely sank Ryan in the finals in the fantasy hockey league.
He completely fell, but him and Ricard Raquel just completely decided to give up the last 3 games of the year, and it's like, you bums.
He had a chance to
win. They both just wanted to golf,
glory.
I guess.
Yep, Nikita Kucherov screwed Ryan over. So that's what he's.
That's fine.
Saying.
I'm still drafting him next year if I get a top 3 pick. I don't care.
But there are 2 fun storylines that comes out of that series. First, because now the speculation will absolutely be rampant that Utah is going to target John Cooper, and that's going to be a hard conversation. But I guess maybe not as hard as you think, because even the people who are like, I like Andre Tourigny, I want to see what he can do. When you dangle John Cooper's name in front of them, they almost universally say, yes, John Cooper is our guy, for no other reason than he and Ryan Smith are golf buddies. And that seems like, is anybody really looking at John Cooper's coaching track record and saying, yes, he's a guy that can take this team? Because people have started doing it with Bruce Cassidy. People have really started breaking down whether or not he's going to be good for this team and their age group and our rookies, and saying, no, he's not going to be good for it. John Cooper's name just supersedes all things. And I haven't really looked at it. I just know that John Cooper is a phenomenal coach. That's all I know. But Bruce Cassidy is a phenomenal coach. Pete DeBoer is a phenomenal coach. Like, there's all these phenomenal coaches on the board. But here's the thing, if Utah doesn't act fast, I'll bet you John Cooper doesn't stay a non-head coach for longer than a week unless he wants to stay a non-coach for less than a week. Somebody will call him. Toronto most likely will say, name your price. We want you here. Like, he's just going to be that sought after. If Tampa Bay is in fact willing to make that reaction, which I don't believe they are.
I don't think they're going to.
If they did, it would be fun to watch that storyline play out. Is John Cooper better than Andre Tourigny if he's legitimately, honest to God, available? That would be fun to watch.
The conversation, at least at this point, like, if you believe in Andre Tourigny, I'm not going to discredit your opinion, but at this point, to say that Andre Tourigny is a better coach than Cassidy, like, what has he ever done to make you think that he's a better coach, right? Like, I was having this conversation on Twitter earlier, and somebody said, like, a better coach is going to be hard to find. And I said, like, Butch Cassidy's he's not hard to find. He's right there. Is Cassidy a better coach? Probably, but I don't want the team to be sad. The whole point that he was making was that the team likes Andre Tourigny and they respect Andre Tourigny, which is funny because earlier in the season we thought he'd completely lost the locker room. But they like Andre Tourigny, so don't fire the coach they like to get a better one because it might make the players upset. Like, that's not how you run an NHL. This is professional level hockey. You don't keep a worse coach because your players might like it a little bit more. And another thing, like, this is a completely different direction now, but it's still the same discussion. Another thing that I've seen people say is we're sort of excusing some of the performances from some of the players because, like, this is their first taste of playoff hockey and we just needed to get them that experience. But you got to remember too that this is Andre Tourigny's first playoff experience. He needs to learn how to coach in the playoffs, and this was a great learning experience for him. If you have a young team that doesn't know what it's like in the playoffs, you need a coach who does. Like, if you have a coach who doesn't know what it's like in the playoffs, coaching a team who doesn't know what it's like in the playoffs, it's the blind leading the blind. You need a coach who knows what it is, and a coach saying, well, I haven't been here before, I don't know what I'm doing. That's not a good excuse for a coach, arguably, in my mind, losing a playoff series due to the decisions that he made. And I believe Andre Tourigny lost his series. I believe for most of the series, I'll say 80% of the series, Utah looked like the better team. But the coaching mistakes made by Andre Tourigny lost the series. And that's what happens when you have a young, inexperienced team being coached by an inexperienced coach who doesn't know what he's doing in the playoffs. So that's not an excuse in my mind.
You know, the other fun storyline to come out of that directly relates to coaching is when you're looking at, in terms of like timelines and expectations, the Montreal Canadiens are probably the closest comp in terms of like team composition to the Utah Mammoth. And they look leaps and bounds ahead of the Utah Mammoth. They have a young, inexperienced coach, phenomenal player, right? Martin St. Louis, one of the best, but he's only in his 5th year as a coach, and he's now made the second round. Last year was their first trip to the playoffs in his 4-year tenure. And now he's in the second round against arguably the 4th or 5th best team in the league, not just the East, but in the entire league. I mean, this is a big deal for them. And that's what makes it so hard to just sit back and accept we're a young team, we're going to take time argument, because we're seeing the Montreal Canadiens do it. We're seeing the Anaheim Ducks do it. We're seeing the Buffalo Sabres do it. And then we're looking at it and say, well, why not us? Like, that's why, like, I get it. We're not cup contenders, right? We're not. Like, I get that. But we had a golden opportunity to beat the Golden Knights. And then we would have had a golden opportunity to get to the Western Conference Finals. That would have, 2 playoff series in the same year doubles your timeline for playoff experience, right? Like, is that not something we consider?
The Ducks beating the Oilers was like everything falling into place for you to win 2 playoff series, and you shot yourself in the foot against the Knights with poor coaching. Like, it's just, we're here now, so we might as well just go into, like, what do we do with Andre Tourigny? because we waited too long on DeBoer. He's with the Islanders now, so like he's off the board. Torts is probably going to re-sign with Vegas, so I don't know if he was ever a possibility. I don't know if he wanted to coach a young team and try to build them. But like it was DeBoer and then Cassidy as soon as Las Vegas let him go, who were the two sort of like obvious upgrades that are out there, right? Like you can take a gamble with like a really good AHL coach or like one of Colorado's assistants or something like that. But those were the two coaches that seemed like very obvious upgrades over Tourigny. And we waited too long for one of them. And now we kind of find ourselves in a place where I don't like any of the options, right? If we go into next year with Andre Tourigny with 1 year left, like I'm not crazy about that. I don't want him to sign an extension at this point. Even though a week ago I sat here and said 2 or 3 year extension, I'm fine with that. But things changed really, really drastically in a week. And now I don't want him signing an extension. But like we've said all year long as he takes that next step, right? The first year was compete, be in there at the end. And then the next year was make the playoffs and get that playoff experience. Like he got us that next step in the roadmap to how we become contenders. So I also don't necessarily want to fire him because he did technically get us to where we wanted to be. So now we're in a spot where I don't know what to do with Andre Tourigny, and I'm not crazy about any of the options. Like if I woke up tomorrow and Andre Tourigny is fired and Cassidy is hired, I'm probably happy with that. But other than that one specific outcome, I don't like any of the possibilities of what to do with Bear.
I like Bruce Cassidy as a coach. I don't like Bruce Cassidy as our coach. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't think we have a team built for the kind of hockey Bruce Cassidy wants to coach. And I don't think a lot of our guys are good. Like some of it, like Cooley showed in the playoffs, he can play that physical playoff hockey. Gunther proved he's not afraid to check some people. Carcone showed up, but I don't think we have a team that's willing to do that for 82 games in the regular season. And that's what Bruce Cassidy is going to expect. And I think he would lose the room a little too fast with how young our core is. Bruce Cassidy is more of a, like, in an opposite world, you're firing Torts and replacing him with Bruce Cassidy with 4 games left of the year. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the coach that's necessarily going to be the problem all year long. You know what I mean? Because, like, a coach is he's just that. He's a coach. I think more or less the style of hockey the Utah Mammoth are built for is not built for a Stanley Cup. If you look at all the Stanley Cup winning teams over the last, I don't know, let's just call it the 2020 decade. Sure, there's some guys on there that are fast. Your whole team can't be built on speed. And having Jack McBain and Lawson Krause as your two, I don't know, muscle, size, whatever you want to call them, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for the playoffs, and it's definitely not good enough to win a Stanley Cup. As fast as some of our players are, it's like getting ready, the whole team itself isn't. And a guy like Boot could have been huge. Look at Porter Martone for the Flyers. He's been absolutely electric for them. Look at the kid who came up for Boston and played a few games, whatever his name was. But no, our guy, as much as I want to sit here and blame Tourigny as much as the next guy, I feel like not a bigger, but an almost as equal problem is the makeup of the team.
Yeah. And I can see that, which is why I am sort of, I'm really looking forward to this offseason because I think this playoff series, like you said, sort of exposed some flaws that this team has and some areas that they need to improve in. And like, I want to believe that Daniil Boot can become that big offensive, like just powerful, big-bodied offensive player like you would expect what is he, 6'5", 200-pound dude from Russia. Like, that's exactly what you expect him to be. Maybe it's because he's only 21. Maybe he just needs to grow into it a little bit. But Daniil Boot sort of plays like he's 5'10" and 180 pounds. Like, dude, use your freaking size. And so, like, maybe in the offseason you get him up to speed, or we've got cap space to bring in a couple of big bodies. Like, I have not yet looked at who's going to be a free agent, who you can target, but
there's not much.
There's there's not much. I don't know names, but I have seen people say there's not much. But like there are obvious flaws that need to be addressed, and size is definitely one of them.
Does Montreal have size, though? Because I would consider them a speed and finesse team.
Yeah, they got Josh Anderson. Their bottom three of Doc is huge. Yeah, maybe they don't have as much, but I don't know. I feel like Montreal plays a much more physical game than we do. Like,
Probably
we have
do.
a big blue line, but we're not necessarily a very physical blue line. But
And I guess if you have Jack Eye on your team, you maybe don't need the rest of the team to be physical. We don't have an Arbor Jack Eye on our team, but
now when you got Arbor Jack Eye and Josh Anderson, you're set.
I've been looking at the roster of Montreal, and I'm just like, because Montreal's one of the youngest teams in the league, like in true age. Like the Mammoths' age is like kind of carried by some of our older players, but the true average age of Montreal is 25 years old, right? And I think that's where like Utah, if we play our rookies, is going to be there. But like a lot of their rookies are already there, right? Like Ivan Demidov was drafted the same year Tej was there, and who knows if Tej is going to play more than 25 games next year. Demidov's already there. Like there's players already there. Their rookies are already making an impact in the playoffs, and we're still waiting. We're still waiting for our rookies to get here. And it's like Cooley and Gunther, those are our rookies right now. The rest are unproven, unknown NHL guys. And I said it once, I've said it before. If they were good enough to play in the NHL right now, we would have already brought them up. Like we had the chance and we didn't. Like I know that GM from a business standpoint doesn't want to waste that year, but like if they were good enough and they can help you in the playoffs, like why not? Like Porter Martone is absolutely crushing it in Philly right now. They risked it to get the biscuit and it paid off. Like that's what's frustrating is it's like I really feel like I'm looking at all these young teams and they're all going to get good right around the time that we are too. And it's like that's what like why waiting is so hard because it's like we're not the only team waiting to get older. There's a lot of teams waiting to get older, and there's some of those teams that are waiting to get older that are already ahead of us in development.
Anaheim. We haven't even brought up Anaheim. They're the one team where it's like, yeah, you could like roster to roster. It's essentially the same thing. They've got a good young group on their forwards with a experienced D-core. What do we have? A young front end and an experienced back end. And look at Anaheim. You're gonna tell me Cutter Gauthier is that much better than Dylan Gunther, Logan Cooley? I'll fight you right now. You're gonna tell me that what's his name? Chris Kreider is somehow better than Nick Schmaltz or Clayton Keller? No. Leo Carlson? Okay, maybe you got an argument there, Anaheim. But look at what they are doing. Their young kids have all stepped up. J.R. Lacombe, I'm pretty sure, is still leading the playoffs in points as a defenseman. Like, where was Sean Dursey for the playoffs? He was somewhat better, I guess. But, like, the young teams that we were supposed to be being young with, they're already ahead of it. We are the last place of the young guys who are coming. Like, of the young teams that made the playoffs, we're the bottom rung of that. And that's really disappointing. And it sucks because I don't think we should be at all.
I mean, Anaheim also got the benefit of playing a team with goaltending and McJesus with a broken foot. Like, I mean, context matters a little bit.
But we had to play Carter Hart. Carter Hart sucks. Like, so it's the same argument.
You know what's so funny?
We destroyed Carter Hart. Like, if we would have just kept attacking on offense when we had a lead, we win the damn series.
He was not unbeatable, but you look at it, I don't know if you guys have been following kind of like if you have any residual socials from like the Vegas and Anaheim crossover, but like Vegas fans are not super high and super confident going into the series. Anaheim crushed them all regular season long.
They shouldn't be. Anaheim is it's gonna look like this series, but the opposite. It's gonna be Anaheim in 6.
So, but
Anaheim would have won that division if they weren't terrified of playing us. They threw like 11 of their last 12 games
if they
to avoid playing
that,
Utah.
Yeah,
like
that's a fun conspiracy.
We're gonna play Edmonton because they have no goaltending. We're going to avoid Utah, and then we're going to take Vegas in the second round. Like, they carved out their path to the Western Conference Finals by looking at how this was going to play out.
They
Like,
stole our plan.
we just got
They
to
stole
piss
our
11
goddamn plan.
Yeah.
It's never going to be as easy as it is. This year is an anomaly. It'll never be this easy. So, okay, speaking of it'll never be this easy, though. So I was thinking about this too. Depending on what Dallas does in the offseason, because Dallas has a lot of question marks, right? Like Dallas has a lot of decisions they've got to make. But Colorado pretty much going to stand pat. Minnesota pretty much going to stand pat. And they both look great. Paying attention to their game, like that's going to be an incredible series. So what I got to ask myself now is, okay, yes, I want to compete in the Central Division and I want to be there. But are we going to be in a situation next year where actually being in wildcard one is once again going to be the better path than trying to get in the top 3 of the Central, and almost to the point of like, you don't want to be in the top 3 of the Central because then you have to play either Colorado or Minnesota in round 1?
Yeah, because so you look at the Pacific, like Vegas is aging. They'll probably stay together, but they're aging. Edmonton, who in the hell knows what they're going to do? And McJesus, Anaheim's good, and the Sharks are probably going to get better. But like, who in the Pacific are we afraid of? But like Colorado and Minnesota, yeah, we're afraid of them. And Dallas, who the hell knows what they're going to do? They're like they've got cap trouble and no prospect pool. And they're sort of glad. Like I made the comparison to like had Utah never come here, I would have been going through the same hell if I was still a Dallas fan. But like I'd rather be a Utah fan right now because who in the hell knows what Dallas is going to be? But which kind of just you might want to be wild card one again next year.
That's what I'm thinking too, and not in the sense that like I want to be wild card one because we eked into it and locked up wild card one with 1 game left in the season. Like I want to make it seem like we're always within striking distance of Central 3. We just don't want to get there. Like this is an intentional play. It's not exactly tanking because we're in the playoffs, but you just want to tank for a better playoff seeding. And that eventually that won't matter, right? Like in 3-4 years, like we can't fear anybody. We have to have the mentality like it does not matter who we play in the first round, we will beat them, and that's the mentality you have to be a cup contender. But right now, when all we're looking for is trying to get more than one series so that we can get that playoff experience and increase ideally the timeline, if that's all we're waiting for is playoff experience, 2 rounds is better than 1. Like I mean, I don't know. Like I'm not a coach. They aren't paying me the big bucks to be a coach, but I'd be thinking about it.
Yeah. In 3 or 4 years, you should be worried about like, oh, can we win the President's Trophy and still win the Stanley Cup? In 3-4 years, the plan should be good enough to contend for the President's Trophy at the end of the regular season. This is actually something that I was going to bring up while we were talking about Tourigny, but 92 points got us wildcard 1 this year. That's not going to work next year. Going all the way back to the 14-15 season, this is only the 3rd time that 92 points would have been enough to make the playoffs. Like 92 points most of the time is not putting you in the playoffs. And since the 14-15 season, this is the only year where it would have been good enough to be wild card 1. The other 2 years it would have made the playoffs, you're wild card 2 and probably getting swept by Colorado, right? So like we have to improve, and this is sort of the reason why I'm not sold on bringing Tourigny back just because he made the playoffs, because we were kind of fortunate just to make the playoffs to begin with only 92 points. Like we have to be considerably better next year to be locked into playoff contention. Because like we talk about like, ooh, would it be better to be wild card 1? But we should not next year be coming down to the wire like we're only sitting at 80% to make the playoffs on moneypuck.com, right? Like we should be firmly entrenched into the playoffs next year. That is the next step in the progression of how we turn into cup contenders, and 92 points next year is not going to do it. You have to be better. 92 points is probably never again going to get you wild card 1. So while a lot of people are like, yep, I'm fully behind Tourigny because he got us to the playoffs and that was the goal, we were kind of fortunate for it to be good enough to make the playoffs. So we have to be leaps and bounds, maybe just leaps, not leaps and bounds, but leaps better next year.
No, it's both.
Count our many blessings, and that is the motto for Utah going forward. Now, speaking of our many blessings, we've talked about our rookies. Like, that's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Fans believe in Tijikinla, by the way. I
Yes,
don't know
they
if you
do.
saw the responses to the question that I put out, like, how would you feel about this being your top 9, your top 3 lines, and who do you want on the 4th? Almost every response is put Tijikinla on line 2. So they not only believe he's going to be on the team and a contributing member next year, and he's going to be good enough to be on line 2, which, I mean, he's completely dominating the league that he's in right now, but that is a far cry from playing in the NHL. So I think he'll be at least on the team for some games. I wouldn't go so far as to say I think he's going to be on the team in line 2. So, but they believe in him. So I like that.
You got to have faith, and this team is going to have a lot of decisions because you've got, like, aside from the 3 rookies who are still in the Canadian leagues, right? You've got your Tijikinla, your Caleb Desnoyers, and Cole Baudouin, who I think is he was a second rounder, if I do believe, and he's kind of been, like, he's crushing his league. He's a lot older than the rest of his league, and I have no problem admitting that I have no respect for the Canadian juniors. Zero, zilch, nada. What any player does in the Canadian juniors means absolutely nothing to me. So I'm already skeptical about them all. But you've got those 3 guys, all on entry-level deals. But then you've also got Simashev and Daniil But, right, who played NHL minutes this season. They weren't quite ready yet, but they're there. And when we're talking about getting size to go along with their speed, like, those are 2 very large human beings. And I would love Daniil But, for his size, to be able to be a good NHL player. I just didn't see that out of him. But that being said, you've got decisions to make because you've got Alex Kerfoot, who is now an unrestricted free agent. Barrett Hayton, who is now a restricted free agent. Kevin Stenlund, unrestricted free agent. Kyler Yamamoto, unrestricted free agent. Kevin Rooney never played. He's an unrestricted free agent. If we re-sign him, I would be shocked. He's 32 years old. Played in 1 game this year. Scored a goal.
Played in a game?
It was Kevin Rooney, right?
When?
1 game, 1 goal.
Kevin Rooney, 1 game, 1 goal. Yeah.
1 game, 1 goal. But I
Never
don't
heard
think
of him.
we're re-signing or extending 1 game Kevin Rooney. Happy trails, Kevin Rooney. And then on the defensive end, you've got Ian Cole, unrestricted free agent, and Nick DeSimone, unrestricted
Bye-bye.
free agent. And then, of course, the biggest one, Vitek Vanacek, unrestricted free agent. So
I don't know who you go get. Like Caden Hill, you can probably get him from Vegas. That's probably an upgrade for your number 2.
Alex Lyon from Buffalo.
They'll never let him go. They'll never let Lyon go.
They will.
Buffalo's
he's going to win the
letting him
Stanley
go.
Cup for the Buffalo Sabres, and then he's going to sign a
And they're gonna
3-year
lock him
deal with the
down.
Utah Mammoth. That's what Alex Lyon does.
I mean, Lyon is kind of that guy. Lyon is exactly what you see so often in the NHL playoffs, right? A goalie that just kind of like, he's had a few chances to be the guy with the teams that he's been on, and it's never really panned out. He's number 2 in Buffalo, and Ukko-Pekka has never given him his job. And then Ukko-Pekka is like, I don't want to play in the playoffs. And Lyon is just like, I'm going to stop everything they throw at me. And just like this goalie just comes out of nowhere and wins a series for a team because he just
He
like,
did
you
it
know
with
what?
Florida 2
I'm
years
God
ago.
mode now. So
He's the reason Florida got out of the first round 2 years ago because Bob was atrocious, and then he came in, played good, and then they were like, all right, Bob, we'll give you 1 more chance, and then Bob was good again. But I think the only player that you named that I think we immediately need to go re-sign is Kyler Yamamoto. I don't care what anybody says. I will fight any Utah Mammoth fan who does not think Kyler Yamamoto has earned a full-time 82-game roster spot. Like,
I think
kid,
Yamamoto,
he's so good. He's so good.
out of all the free agents and restricted free agents that we have, I think Kyler Yamamoto is the only one that you could get the entire fan base to agree on, right? Maybe Ian Cole, maybe everybody says, yeah, let Ian Cole walk. But the only one that you want to re-sign is the only one you could get everybody to agree on is Kyler Yamamoto. I've already seen people saying you have to bring Kerfoot back. You can't bring Kerfoot back. Bring Stenlund back. Like all the guys that we have decisions to make on. Yamamoto is the only one that the entire fan base is going to agree on.
I would say re-sign
though.
Simashev, but I've been a big DeSimone. I've been a huge DeSimone fan.
DeSimone.
I think he's a great 6th or 7th defenseman, but if all your chips are going into Maverick Lamoureux and Simashev, I can understand letting DeSimone and Cole both walk. I would prefer to let Ian Cole walk. I think he had a good run. I think it's time for Ian. Hang up the skates, my boy. You got 2 or 3 cups. You've got a foul. You know what I mean? You did it all, buddy. You're probably a Hall of Famer, or at least in the Hall of Pretty Good. Like, you know what I mean?
The Hall of Pretty Good might be it.
The Hall of Pretty Good for sure. But of everybody, look at that second line in the playoffs.
God damn.
Like, I cannot argue that the Yamamoto, Gunther, Cooley line was our best line. They finished every check. Dylan Gunther has the best release in the league, according to multiple analysts. If you listen to different broadcasts, multiple people have said the best release in the league. And then Kyler Yamamoto just hunts down the puck like he sees puck, get puck, and I love that about him. But Kyler Yamamoto fits the style of play we have, whereas Kerfoot, yeah, he does, but also I could be okay if you let Kerfoot go. Stenlund needs to go. It did not work out this year. It was fine, good, have a good one, love you, bye buddy. But we can replace the blue line guys a lot easier. I don't see Daniil Boot stepping up to be Kyler Yamamoto. You know what I mean? Whereas Kyler Yamamoto, he essentially stepped up to be Barrett Hayden. When Barrett Hayden's been out, Yamamoto has been like, yeah, I got it, don't worry, I'm fine. So if Hayden leaves, I'm okay with that too, because we got Yammer. Like, I feel like that's just where I'm at. Out of everybody, it's re-sign Yammer, and then personally, I say you re-sign DeSimone for, I don't know, 1.5. You know, he's not going to ask for much.
DeSimone might still wind up being like your 7th defenseman that you're scratching most games, but he's somebody that you want on your team. If you get somebody who's like banged up or somebody who's like he is somebody that you want on your team, and it is really important to have guys that are like end of the bench, healthy scratches most of the time, but when you need them, you can rely on them. Like guys like that are very important, and he is the definition of that, right? Like at any point you can put him on the ice and he's going to be good.
This is a minor little thing. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of Utah Mammoth social posts. Anytime DeSimone is asked a question by the social teams, it's always a great answer. He's always having fun. He's always trying to get a laugh. He seems like a locker room kind of guy. Kind of like Tuna, but instead of fighting, he's just, hey, he's our reliable 6th or 7th guy that, like, sure, if somebody's having a bad, like, and I don't know if he plays power play or penalty kill, but I can't remember him really being bad 5-on-5. And that is what I want out of a defenseman. Are you good 5-on-5?
What do you want?
No, you're good.
Sorry, go on.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, what do you want Kyler Yamamoto's contract to look like?
3 years, $3 million.
Yeah,
Cap's going up.
Right.
I think he's earned 3 years, $3 million a year. You know what I mean? So it'd be 3 years, $9 million total. The cap's going up. You're about to shave off Stenlund, Kerfoot, Cole, and Hayden's contracts, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like I don't know it. Again, I'm not a nerd. I'm not looking at stats. I don't care about that. Kyler Yamamoto feels like a $3 million a year guy. And the best part about Kyler, pick a line. He can do it. You need Kyler on the 4th line being a grinder? He's got it. You need him on the 3rd line being physical? Yeah, he's going to be out there throwing that 180-pound, 5'10" body or whatever he is. I don't know. But you need him on the 2nd line being the guy to retrieve all the rebound shots from Cooley and Gunther. There he is. Like, I feel like
5'8", 150 pounds.
Oh, I gave him way more credit than he is.
But he plays bigger than Daniil Boot.
Yeah, he's a honey badger out there. he's just I love Kyler Yamamoto, and I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I feel like every time I watch a Utah game, there's always one person minimum. I was like, oh well, he earned that shift, and it's Yamamoto every single time.
Yep.
He is never being lazy. Never.
So Tisha
Let me guess, he
is
was either undrafted or a late round draft pick. What was Yamamoto?
I believe he was
Kyler
undrafted.
Yamamoto. Let's see.
I was gonna say he plays like an
No, he was a
undrafted
first
kid.
round draft
round
pick.
one,
No!
round one, pick 22 in 2017.
We were all
Edmonton.
wrong.
Oh, God, Kyler. Oh, God. Still love you, buddy. Still love you, buddy. You know what Kyler Yamamoto is in baseball terms? He's just a utility guy. You can put him anywhere. Put him in the outfield. You can plug him in at the hot corner. You can have him pitch sometimes like Kike Hernandez. Yammer can do it all.
So we'll re-sign Yamamoto. What do you do with Stenlund and Kerfoot? Because you need another center. Unless you're saying Dave Loyer is ready to be the center.
If I have to pick one, I'm taking Kerfoot. I feel like Kevin Stenlund is bound for the Swedish Elite League after this year.
You know, he's only 29 years old, Kevin Stenlund.
Who?
He looks like he's 40.
Who?
Kevin Stenlund.
What?
Kevin Stenlund's only 29 years old.
What do you mean I'm older than Kevin Stenlund? What do you mean?
Can you believe that?
What do you mean?
Can you believe that?
No, what? I don't believe you.
He looks like he's 40, but he's only 29
He
years
plays
old.
like he's 40. What the fuck?
The biggest thing that Kevin Stenlund contributes to the team is when they post their post-victory brain rot videos on TikTok, the Snapchat picture that says, I am Kevin Stenlund, that's his biggest contribution to the team. And then going out and winning it. Being put out to win a face-off and then sort of winning them sometimes.
Do you guys remember how good he was last year?
Last year it was like you put him on the ice for every critical and he did it. He did it. It may have been this Vegas series where they put out line one, but they took Keller off the ice. They took Keller off to put Stenlund on to go win the faceoff, and he wins it and immediately comes off the ice, and Keller pops back on, and it was one of Krause's goals in the game where he scored 2. They win the faceoff in the defensive zone with Stenlund. He immediately goes off. Like, he only came on to win the faceoff, and it led to a goal. So I was wrong in saying that the biggest thing that he contributed was the brain rot TikToks, because it led to a goal in that situation.
So we're going to say Kevin Stenlund gone, Alex Kerfoot maybe, and now you're approaching your 23-man roster. If you already put in Daniil Boot and you've got Tisha Ginla, there's one more roster spot for one more, whether it's Cole Baudouin or Caleb Desnoyers. You've got one more forward spot available. And then here's something that I didn't really consider. You know that next year is Maverick Lamoureux's last year on his entry-level contract before he becomes a restricted free agent. So if you want him on your team long-term, I think you've got to give him some more NHL minutes. He just has not gotten those minutes.
I firmly believe one of our 2 tower defensemen, put him in a trade package, either him or Shimashev, and get us a top 6 power forward like a Tom Wilson, a Josh Anderson, a Adrian Kempe from Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Just a big dude who goes to the net and scores goals. Just give us something.
God.
I wish we did.
The Colorado-Minnesota game is 7-5 right now.
Who's winning?
Good Lord.
Colorado.
Dang it.
Just endless scoring in this one. Sorry to just throw that in there.
You're good. I didn't know where I was going after that.
I was looking at Maverick Lamoureux's stats on the season, and above it is the score of the game. Like, good God, it's 7-5.
There's not a whole lot of free agents out there to target. There's probably some names, but like you just have to decide, are they better than what you have, and what price are you going to pay for them? Now we have a ton of cap, well, not a ton of cap space, but just shy of 10 million after we give Kyler Yamamoto 3 million. But then you still need a goalie. Now here's the thing. You've got Vrabel, who started in Tucson after UMass went out. But traditionally, goalies take longer to develop. Now, you ask Jakob Dobbs how he feels about Dobish out of Montreal, how he feels about that. He'll say, I don't care about no stinking development. Both Czech goalies, by the way. Is there a world where we don't sign a goalie and we just ride with Rabel as the backup? Or does he start?
What do
in
we
the
have to
AHL?
lose? What do we have
I
to lose?
don't-
Call him up.
Don't think so. I think he'll probably at least spend 1 year down in the AHL. I guess it really depends on who you're able to get as your backup goalie, right? Like I'll pull up like Aiden Hill, let's just say, because that's a name that I said earlier. Like Aiden Hill, let's see, he's at oh God, he was only in an 87% save percentage this year and let in 3. If you're 10, 9, and 6 as the Vegas goalie, that's probably not good. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, you're not gonna get a high-level goaltender to come in and be your backup, right? You're gonna get somebody like Vanacek. So, like, do you bring Vanacek back because he knows the system and he knows the team and he knows, like, he sort of knows that he's not going to play as much because of how good, like, I shouldn't say how good Vejmelka is. Maybe Vejmelka only played that much because Vanacek was bad. But I think it depends on who you can bring in as your number. Like, that makes me think, okay, maybe his development isn't going to take as long as most goalies do, right? Just straight from the college game, straight to the AHL, straight to starting and performing well. Like, maybe he just has it, you know? Maybe he's too young to realize how big the moment is, and he's too stupid to realize he's not supposed to be good yet. But yeah, bring him up. Who cares? If you can't bring up in a decent backup, put him on the ice.
How many games did Vitek play?
20.
22. So how many did Vrabel or whatever his name is play in the AHL?
Great question. But I think you probably want to give your backup more. I think it's funny that we talked about how we wanted Veggie to get more starts. I don't know if 60 starts next season is sustainable again. I'd like it to be around 55.
But well, just how much? I just want to compare some numbers just real quick. I know this is terrible podcasting.
Vrabel right now, he's played 5 games. His goals against is 2.9. His save percentage is 90%. He's 3-1-1
in the AHL.
In the AHL, yes.
Good enough. Call him up. We got us a backup, boys. I can't see how it could go bad. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Like, who gives a shit?
He's the starter of the future. He's going
what
to...
better way to get experience than to just get experience?
To be there. And maybe he can push Veggie to be better, even though Veggie was good enough. I don't want Veggie to have a backtrack year where he realizes his time is ending, but I don't know if you guys caught Vitek Vanacek's post-game presser. He's very disappointed with his role on the team. I don't know really what he thought he was coming into. Like, maybe he legitimately in his heart of hearts thought he could compete for a starting position, but he was always going to be a backup. It just sucks. Like, you know, it was half him playing poorly, half the team playing poorly in front of him that kind of led to a super down year for him. But that's, I think, the biggest decision, regardless of what we do with our forwards or defensemen, the biggest decision you make in the offseason for GM Bill Armstrong is who's your backup goalie next year? Do you want to run it back with Vitek for another year? Will Vitek sign for another year? Or do you call up Rabel a little earlier than you might like to and have him sit the bench rather than get starts in the AHL? And I don't know, you probably don't call up Matt or Velada or Stauber. Like, you could, but I doubt you do. You didn't do it last year, so why would you do it this time?
Let's do it. Call up Stauber.
What are they're both free. So Stauber, we got Stauber next year, no matter what. Matt Velada is a restricted free agent this year. So, so we've got that going for us. So we can...
He didn't play horrible.
For the stopper, bring him in. I'm fine with it. Roll with it. He has our first franchise shutout. How bad can it be? You know, he's not going to play in the playoffs. So
it's got to be worth 5 more starts.
Save some money because you know Vrabel's coming in 2 years anyway.
Stauber's save percentage is 0.8 worse than Vrabel's in the 8.
That's barely I'm not a nerd. Stop with the numbers. How did they look?
I'm just giving you
point.
You don't know what he's doing in Tucson.
Who is taller?
0.08 or 0.008?
So Vrabel's is 89.7 and Stauber's is 88.9. So
Okay,
0.8% worse.
Might as well be the same.
That's not a difference.
And Villalta is the one who his is 89.5. So out of the three, Rebel, Villalta, and Stauber's is the worst.
If you give Villada, you gotta give him more money though, and that's something I don't know if we're willing to do. We already got Stauber locked in. We're already paying him the league minimum. Might as well just roll with it. But hey, these are the fun things that we're gonna have all off season to talk about and speculate about. And GM's got some questions, and then the draft coming up. But this one's both a heartbreaking, but also now talking about the future as we're talking about the end, like it's also a healing. It is very cathartic to discuss, okay, now it is time to look to the future, right? The future is bright. The future is bright. We're going to get better and better and better. And now we get to look towards it. So that's part of the fun and part of the healing process. I'm still very mad and very upset about how it all ended, but that's because I let my own expectations change from the start of the season as the season went on, and certainly as the playoffs developed. But guys, is there anything else you want to talk about in this epic end of season episode?
No, it's hot. I'm tired. I gotta go to bed.
God dang it, I had something. Wives, if you're out there and you're listening to the podcast, if there's 4 minutes left in a game 7 that your husband seems very interested in and invested in and he's watching, that's not the time to tell him a story about this couple that you found on TikTok who had a baby. And B, if he's kind of like looking away from you, just like, and he seems like a little bothered that you're interrupting the game to tell him a story about a TikTok couple, you don't get mad at him. No, I'm not talking about anybody in specific. I'm just in general, if that's something that you have done
that's a
or
very
thought
common,
about doing,
it's a very
don't
common
do
wife
that.
thing.
And
That's
just for anybody out there who's like, Dustin, aren't you afraid that your wife is going to hear you ranting about her on the podcast and get mad at you? She doesn't listen to the podcast. All right.
Unbelievable.
I've teased her about this a bunch, and I tell you, you know what? Conor McGregor's wife worked 2 full-time jobs to pay the bills so that he could train full-time because she fully believed in his ability as a fighter. And then he became a multi-millionaire UFC champion and box office hit, an actor in the Roadhouse, right? Because his wife believed in him and made it possible. You don't even listen to an hour-long podcast, an hour and 20 minutes, because I can't stop ranting today. You sit at a computer all day for work, pull it up on YouTube in the background, listen to 1 hour a week is all I want. But no. Does she listen to the podcast? No, she does not listen to the podcast. So I'm not going to get in trouble because she doesn't listen to me rant about hockey for an hour every week.
To be fair, you also don't listen to her tell you about the TikTok couple she found who had a baby.
I listened to it.
So
I listened to every story.
But did you pay attention?
She had a
I don't care. I didn't find the baby on TikTok. I will hang up
so they had
now.
to go through.
I don't want to know.
They had to deal with like embryo bullcrap, and then they had a baby, and then her uterus ruptured, so they had to give birth early, and the baby was born at 20 some odd weeks, and it had to spend the day in the spend some time in the NICU, and it just came home today. See, I heard that.
You know
Listen,
what?
I'm an active listener.
It's better
I
because
watched hockey. I still listened.
The podcast, you can turn on the speed too.
Didn't
you
hear
can
a
watch
word
at
you said.
1.5 speed.
Yeah.
And so it's easier actually to listen to the podcast than it is for us to give our attention to our wives, and we still do it. Can't get that.
I don't even care if you don't actually listen. Pull up the video on YouTube, drop the volume to 0.1 to where you can't hear it, crank the speed up, and give me credit for a view. That's all I care about, but that's too much to ask too.
We're not going to pay for our views. We're not going to pay for our subscribers.
Ask me how many audiobooks she's listened to this year.
I'll pay for views.
2,582.
View bought us.
I'll pay
Ryan.
for views. What are you talking about?
Hey, speaking of views, now that the season's over, it is my favorite time of the year. Guys, it is time for the 2026 Stanley Cup to start. We've been laying the breadcrumbs for the last few episodes, but now it's finally here. So as this is the final episode with Ryan, Dustin and I will continue fighting the good fight. We will go on, and we are going to start talking to you, the fans. We're holding open invitations. If you want to come on here and talk about your experience as a Mammoth fan this year, what you liked, what you didn't like, should Tourigny be fired? Who should be extended? Who should be gone? Who should be traded? We want to talk about it all with you. And it's your chance now. So we're going to be dropping it in the next couple days, open invitations. If you want to talk on this podcast about the Utah Mammoth, come hit us up. We will be there at Twitter at the Two Line Pass Podcast. You know where to find us.
We're going to have to send a tweet about this because there's not a goddamn soul who's still listening to the podcast right now.
Our most devoted listener, Max out there still listening. Max, I know you're listening, my man.
Matt's probably listening
Your
too.
Your support means everything.
Matt heard me say something about the drums,
yes.
and that was end of the show thoughts. So I know Matt's still listening.
Matt and Max,
Susan
our
and
two
Leighton
most
is
dedicated.
going to be listening to the end. Susan and Leighton, big time listener of the pod.
Long time, first time. Guys.
Whether she's my mom has nothing to do with this. Why did you break it up?
Can you tell that we're sad that the season is over because we don't even want to walk away from the last episode of the season? If we keep talking, the season doesn't end.
It never ends. My bedtime was 30 minutes ago.
It doesned end until I hit stop. But guys,
I wish we knew we were in the good old days. In the good old days.
Yeah.
Everything good must come to an end. Guys, for the last time in the 25 season, go Mammoth and everybody out there. Thanks so much for listening.
Tusks up.